So, South Africa take on Sri Lanka in the next World Cup fixture. Something that we're quite excited about, I think everybody is. It's going to be a very important match for South Africa's point of view because it's a must win game. Every single game is now a must win game. And even the game against England, which is coming our way, is going to have to be a must win game too. So South Africa is going to put himself in a position now after losing to Australia, have really put them in a position where they really need to come to the party and actually win every single game that they can possibly win. And unfortunately, we are getting a Sri Lanka side that most likely looks like they are going to need the win as well, and they're going to be desperately needing a victory against South Africa. It's one of those things that this group is turning out to be. It's going to be is the group of death, and everybody knew that that's going to happen, and that's what we are getting. So we're going to chat about this on today's show. We're going to see what you guys have to say. We're also going to briefly touch on Quinton de Kock's statement. That we need to obviously talk about that. I even got a clip for you that I can play for you, that I will be playing on the show. But before we get going, before we get started, you know what you have to do. Subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. It's free in the description. Every single issue is 100% free. All the back issues, you'll get access to all of that. So go ahead and click the link in the description. If you're watching this video later on, then click the eye on the top right of the screen, and then you'll get the latest issue straight to your inbox, as well as all the other issues too. If you're new to this channel and it's the first time you're watching us, and you think that you enjoy our content, then please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Please go ahead and click that notification bell for all future videos as well, so that you get every single video that we upload immediately and when we go live. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine, and this is your preview show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is my co-host Aditya, and he's joining us in the car today, guys. Everybody's had to do it at least once. I haven't done it quite yet. I don't know if I can host a show from the car. Let's see if we can do that maybe once in the future, maybe when I'm away on a tour. Aditya, welcome to the show. How are you doing, brother?
Well, excited to be on the show with you in my car, and in the heart of Bombay. So yeah, let's see, plenty of cricket to talk about.
Yeah, when I was looking through the window at the back there, I thought you were at a race course or something, like a race, like a race car, like Kalani, Cape Town. There's a place called Kalani over here, so it looked like that because the cars are coming so quickly past your window, like in masses. Like I must have counted about 4 or 5 cars since you've been on the stream already fly past you.
Yeah, we don't sleep.
Okay, so let's get straight into this particular video because I think this preview is very important and we can't take Sri Lanka lightly. That's definitely the case. But before we get going, before we get started with this, I think we need to touch on Quinton de Kock. You put up a video, or sorry, you put up a story recently, obviously, of Rassie van der Dissen's press conference and what Rassie had to say. Now, I think this is very important because I think I agree with Rassie 100%. I stand by Rassie and the way he has conducted himself when asked this question. So I'm going to play the clip for you. Let me just try to find it. Um, uh, yeah, I'm gonna get it to you a little bit later. I'll get that clip to you a little bit later because it is a little bit stucky at the moment. But what are your thoughts on Rassie's thoughts, Aditya?
It was quite a balanced and mature interview, I thought, because if anything, the upheaval from the last couple of days needed someone to just steady the ship a little bit, and Rassi being the thoughtful and balanced individual that he is, he really articulated the emotions of the team in a manner that I think will help everyone, including all the stakeholders in cricket, just move forward a little bit. Because I think the way in which this entire process was handled uh, was was not ideal. And as Quinny stated in his statement, there's always a lot of drama that the protests carry with them to World Cup, and it simply isn't fair. So I think everyone can question the timing of all of this. But if anything, after Quinton's statement and now after Rassi's interview, it looks like everyone's ready to move on. We can all have our opinions about Quinny's statement as well as Rassi's interview, but if anything, um, it's a good way to sort of transition to the next couple of games, which are, as you said, do or die for South Africa.
What do you think about Quinny's statement? I mean, for me personally, I was very happy with that he came out and apologized, actually. I think that should give him a lot of credit with the fans. I think that the fans should feel a lot more comfortable with every single situation that's happening over there. I like the fact that he admitted that he wasn't 100% sure about what everything was for him. Yeah, he didn't fully understand the the stance that the rest of the people were actually taking, and that was very good that he actually came out and said that. He also explained the reason why he never kneeled, and the reason why he pulled out of the game. He said that he didn't mean to obviously hurt his fellow teammates and the fans out there, so he apologized to everybody for doing that and gave his reasons for why now he will be kneeling in this particular match. What is your thoughts on that particular on his statement? Ultimately, I want to get your thoughts first on that.
Look, I think it's a long conversation as to uh, what the significance of kneeling is, and how it really unites people in the fight against racism. But I think that's a separate conversation. With respect to Quinny, I guess my question still is that why didn't he explain this when they were touring the West Indies? I think it would have saved everyone a lot of trouble had had he answered Tinnis's question directly and said exactly what he said in his statement then. Because all of this could have been avoided. Directive could have been avoided, and at least the optics would have looked a little bit better for the team and for Cricket South Africa. But I think if there's one thing that I really liked about that statement was um, the praise that he heaped on Temba. You know, uh, I think Temba, the batter, has gotten a fair bit of flack over the last couple of games and perhaps the last couple of months. Uh, but Temba, the leader, without question, is outstanding. And in addition to this statement, of course, the grace and poise with which he handled some of the toughest questions that he's probably going to face in his captaincy career was admirable. But in saying that, I'm glad that Quinny is out with a statement, and uh, it looks like everyone's ready to move on. But for Cricket South Africa, they still have a lot of questions to answer
Yes,
because
definitely.
one thing that I feel about sporting teams in general, and certainly with South Africa, given its history, is that you know they bring in psychologists and high performance managers and people like Mike Horn, for example. But in this case, I actually feel like it's important to bring historians on board because a lot of this team was born in the 90s, and their perspective of modern South Africa is very different from someone who might have been born in the 70s or the 80s. So um, I think it's certainly something that would help educate, because there's all this talk about tough conversations had around campfires and things like that, and the fact that there is an effort um to educate players more about race relations in South Africa. But I guess now the question has to be asked: who's doing the educating? Who are the experts involved? And I think my view is that there should be historians on board who work with cricketers and perhaps add perspective that doesn't come from their families, I suppose.
Yeah. So here is Rassi's statement. I'm gonna try to play it for you guys right now. I've never actually shared it. I'm gonna
Quinn
try to
is
share it.
extremely remorseful, but I can say that in a positive way. I think a characteristic of our team is that even though he took that decision, everyone understood why he took that decision, and we always supported him, even though the timing might not have been great and of the whole day and everything, and it was a bit chaotic in that build up to the match. But we all understood and we all supported him, and I think that speaks volumes about where we are as a team and as a squad and as a management, where you know we don't judge, we accept and we expect everyone to think for themselves and make their own decision, and we respect that. So yeah, I mean, the team is always an open environment to anyone who's a member, and I mean, he didn't even have to explain to himself to us really, because we sort of accept everyone as they are and as they come, and we've come a long way in that, and our team is a safe space for the guys in it. So again, that's something that I think myself and we're really proud of. And he's one of the best players.
I think it's just pausing at the guys buffering a bit. Yeah, so guys, ultimately at the end of the day, Rashi explained that um, actually, at the end of the day, guys, Rashi just explained that they will take Quinny back into the team with open arms. So that's what we can all expect from our fan base, etc. That's what we'll do too. I think we'll all stand behind the decision that the team is making, and I respect that. I have to say though, I have to put it out there that I was disappointed with the way CSA handled this whole thing. It should have been dealt with long before the time. I think in the West Indies already, when the first kneeling situation happened, they needed to sort out what they were going to do from here on forward, and that's something that they really needed to do. Um, with regards to this particular video, Rassi van der Dissen's full press conference is on this channel, and I posted it also on Twitter as well for you guys to see. We're having some issues with the load shedding and stuff like that as well. That's causing problems with obviously internet and all those type of things. But I'm sorry about that. So let's get straight into the preview of this video now. Let's talk about the game. I'm gonna take it that Quinny comes straight into this team, back at the top of the order. But my one thing that I would like to see, and it's more what I think is going to happen, is I feel that Heinrich Klaassen might fall out of this team. And I think that because of Riza Hendricks' form and how he performed, I think he will open the batting with Quinny, and Temba will move down to 3. Then obviously having either Aiden at 4 or Rassi at 4, according to the match situation and what happens. And the two big hitters, obviously, within this current squad, in this current team, is obviously Aiden Markram and David Miller. Ultimately, those are the two guys that are going to be able to take South Africa to the next level. Australia is completely dominating Sri Lanka in this particular match. So there's a lot of learnings to take from this. I'm so happy that I got to see the first innings of Sri Lanka, to see how we can affect it as well, how we can bowl, because they look like they have quite complete batters that can face spin as well as seam deliveries. But they struggle with the Yorkers. So if KG can hit his Yorker consistently and Andrich Nokia can do the same thing, then I think we can really put Sri Lanka in trouble. The question is going to be whether we're going to play an extra seamer, drop Keshav, or play Keshav, and that's going to be a discussion that we have to have, because we know that in the past years Sri Lanka has struggled against seam, but I think they've really taken this, especially as Sri Lanka. I think his role in that team is extraordinary. So from that perspective, we need to actually be able to dominate Sri Lanka as well, if possible. But if Sri Lanka is going to be hungry after this defeat to Australia, they might just come out here very in a different mindset, completely wanting to take revenge against South Africa. And that's the big worry for me. The one positive that comes into from our perspective, the one positive is South Africa have one extra day, a couple of extra days of rest over Sri Lanka now. So that's the one thing that I feel with South Africa will become fresh and clear with mind. Your thoughts, Aticha? What would you do with the team lineup?
I'd retain it. Uh, I would retain it. I think, unfortunately, Reza Hendricks, despite uh, a significant performance in the first game, and in his first game of the tournament, would miss out, and Quinton would come back in. Um, and I think Heinrich Klaassen would also be there in the middle order, unless they decide to go in with the extra seamer and bring Vian Mulder in, uh, because Sri Lanka would probably be more comfortable playing spin than they would uh, playing pace. And while it would be tempting to bring back Lungi and Giri in there, my guess is that they'd want the additional batsman. Uh, but in saying that, we had a question on Twitter from Hassan, who asked if Lungi would get a game because KG seemed off color and so on. So my personal view is that it doesn't look likely that Lungi is going to get a game unless there's an injury, because there's also been a drop in form for Lungi, and he hasn't had as much game time as some of the others, like KG and Anna. So um, yeah, I don't see Lungi getting a game.
I think us as fans, maybe, or people that analyze the game, I think in T20 cricket we get a little bit caught up on the whole where the people are placed in the batting lineup. I think we get a little bit caught up in that because you can in T20 cricket play put someone out in the middle, or let someone walk out of the middle in a match situation that suits them. I think that when we have a top order at the moment. We have a very wobbly top order. We don't know what Quinton is going to come to the game. We don't know what type of Temba is going to come to the game. Reza Hendricks you have to. I think you also have to reward form. And Reza Hendricks had a great game in the last game, and he batted well. So I think he should get an opportunity again. Me personally, and if Quinny comes to the party, then that's great. Then we have two openers that take a deep, and that's majority of the time in T20 cricket in modern days in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, in these conditions, a lot of openers have won games for their teams. So if that happens, then it doesn't matter. Then Markham doesn't even bat, or Miller doesn't even bat, because if they can take us deep, if the three of them, the top three, can take us deep, then we don't have to even worry about that. Then Klassen can be dropped. It's a risk that you have to take at the end of the day. You have to trust the top five, top six that you have on the field. Now, that is a very risky move to make, but I would take that risk with Reza Hendricks because I feel that he's coming off form. I mean, Klaassen hasn't hit form. You don't know when he is going to hit form. And I think I have a suspicion that it wasn't Reza that came in on the last minute. I think it was Klaassen that came in the last minute in the previous match. I think that's my hunch. Because Klaassen never necessarily looked very ready behind the stumps, that he knew that he was going to be the wicketkeeper for that match. It was that one particular ball that he got to the behind the stumps. We completely misread it. That's just my observation of what happened. I might be wrong. We have to obviously ask that question to CSA directly. You see, in this particular match, like, that's what I would do. Dwayne Victorious obviously has to play. I think slower balls. Sri Lanka is going to struggle to clear the boundary, etc. The Bray Shams is just excellent, and Keshav Maharaj's brain. You just can't leave that off the field exactly. So it's just the way he thinks about the game is something that I think is excellent. When it comes to Sri Lanka, though, and who we should obviously look out for, I'm very, very worried about the likes of Asalanka. I'm very worried about a guy like Pereira. He seems to always perform against South Africa. And they've got Rajapaksa, who's also who showed what he can do against Australia. But what really bothered me, or not, what really scared me about Sri Lanka, or not really, I wouldn't say scared, but what made me wary about Sri Lanka is the fact that they looked comfortable no matter what bowler bowled at them, whether it was a spinner or whether it was a fast bowler. They never really looked like they were troubled. The main guys, at least, never really looked like they were troubled. They actually, in the end, got themselves out more than being taken out in a way. Other than obviously Mitchell Stark against Kusal Pereira. So we know that the Yorker is obviously going to be one of those things that are going to bother them. And I'm hoping that KG and Anas will have it on the money with regards to that. With regards to their spinners, obviously you're gonna have to look at a guy like Asaranga. He's always going to be in the game. He's always going to be the guy that's going to cause troubles for South Africa, and I just hope that they can perform against them. South Africa do have the edge against them, of course, beating them in Sri Lanka. So hopefully that gives them enough confidence going forward. Who are the danger men in Sri Lanka's side that you are worried about, Aditya?
Lanka, as you mentioned, Vanindu Hasaranga as well. You know, his attitude is just unbelievable, and the captain, Daswin Shanaka, because he's learning on the job and he's learning very quickly. He did lead South Africa he did lead Sri Lanka to series victory in the ODIs against South Africa. So he will be having confidence then. He will feel like Sri Lanka can beat South Africa in these conditions. Uh, but in saying that, I do think that Temba is tactically superior. The combination of Temba and Keshav will outdo Daswin Chanaka, at least from a captaincy point of view. But in saying that, Sri Lanka does have quality in there. They're young players. You know, they've got a buzz about them, and they certainly have the potential to trouble South Africa.
I think this is a situation where South Africa maybe need to trust their bowlers again and try to win the toss and maybe bowl first this time and really clamp Sri Lanka down and put pressure on them. Because I think if we put pressure on them, I think the chase will be a lot easier for South Africa. I think they bat better under pressure than they bowl under pressure, I feel, Sri Lanka personally. That's my opinion on them, on what I've seen so far. So I think that's what I would do, but it also depends on obviously the wicket, etc. We don't know how the Sharjah wicket is going to perform and what it will be. Your prediction, Aditya? I feel South Africa will win this game, but I don't think it will be as close as maybe some may think. I don't want to underestimate anybody, and I don't think South Africa will underestimate anybody. I'm going to predict that Quinn is going to come to the full. He's going to just say up yours to all the critics, and he's going to come out there and he's just going to do an excellent job, like he did in Sri Lanka. So he was the top run scorer for South Africa in Sri Lanka. So hopefully he can do the same thing over here in this particular T20 World Cup. Your prediction, please, Aditya.
I think South Africa is going to win it. But there's one thing that I would caution them against, and that is overthinking. Because this Sharjah wicket is not the same that was used in the IPL. Teams here in Sharjah have scored over 170 runs in the first inning. So South Africa bats first. They should take that into consideration and go hammer and tongs right away.
I see that there's a comment over here about Dex saying that Temba can't score in the power play. I would think that a stroke player would bat better outside the power play than within the power play, because he's not a type of guy that's maybe going to clear the field necessarily and look for big hits. So that's just my opinion on that one. Although, we have seen some great cricket shots being played in the power play that have gone to the boundary on the ground as well. But I think that Temba's smart enough to be able to find the gaps and really and play that type of game. But remember, guys, if a situation happens where we need to bring in Aiden early or we need to bring Rassie early, we can do so. If we lose a quick wicket on top, that could happen. Maybe they will play Riza at 3. He's capable of doing that too. I just think that coming off the form that he's on, I think Riza and Quinny, they're the guys. I think if they bat deep, then you don't bring Temba in. We bring in Aiden and we bring in David. If we're gonna bat maybe till if we lose a wicket maybe in the 12th over, 13th over, then maybe you'll bring in a guy like Aiden again. You know, if we lose a wicket earlier, then you'll bring in Temba. If we lose a wicket maybe in the cup in the first or second over, then you bring in Temba. If you lose a wicket maybe in the 6th or 7th over, maybe you bring in Rassie. You know, there's multiple things that you can do with this particular lineup, I feel, and that is according to the conditions. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. The panelists have apologized and said sorry that they couldn't be here. There's load shedding currently where they are living, so they couldn't make it because they don't have access to Wi-Fi during load shedding, so they didn't have an opportunity to come on the show. So they do apologize. They'll probably be back for the review show. So stay tuned to this platform for all of those videos. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming to the stream, watching our videos. Please share this with everybody. Let help us become the #1 cricket channel on YouTube. Help us become that. And you can help us right today by sharing this with all your friends and family and telling them to subscribe to this channel and clicking that notification bell. Don't forget to also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Stay tuned to cricketfanaticsmag.com as well. That's our website. That's where all the updates, we do reports, we do reviews, we do reaction pieces, we do so much on there. That's where all of our traffic is coming from. So go ahead and go follow us on cricketfanaticsmag.com as well, because that's where you'll find all our information. We've got writers there that are constantly putting out content. So please go ahead and do that. You'll see a lot of stuff for the domestic 4-day competition that's starting soon as well. We'll be discussing that very soon as well. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Maybe we'll do a Q&A for you guys tomorrow. Let's see what happens. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.